Right folks, something a little bit different for you this week. As you can see, I'm in the gallery and I'm just ducking and diving a little bit because it's very low ceilings in here. If you've been in my gallery, you'll know that it's a bit of a health hazard. I'm 6 foot and it's a bit dicey for me, so if you're taller than 6 foot and you come in here in future, I'd bring a hard hat. But yeah, for this week's video I was thinking about it's a bit bright there, let me just get out of there. Oh, it's better. Yeah, I was thinking about what to do this week because the weather's been pretty foul, to be honest, for getting out and doing any landscape photography. So I'm thinking about having a little discussion today about my time on YouTube, because I was looking on my timeline the other day and it's just ticked over 2 years since I started this channel and making videos. So I thought it would be a good time to maybe sit down and discuss a few of the positives and the negatives that I've found making these little vlogs. It's been a thoroughly enjoyable experience, I must say that. But yeah, just thought it might be a bit of an interesting video to make. Just while I'm here, or while I'm stood up rather, a couple of people asked me on that last video if I'd managed to make a print out of it and put it in the gallery. Well, I can give you your answer here. Is that better? There we go. Yeah, this is the Sunset from High style image printed up on a distressed dark frame, and this one here is about A1 size, so pretty big print. That one. Right, I'm just using my gimbal here. I'm just gonna get sat down to do the next bit of this video. Let me just give me 1 minute and I'll get this lot set up, because I haven't got a tripod here and I need to stand this gimbal on something. Right, let's get into this. I hope you're appreciating my lovely little fill lamp on the side of this gimbal. It's absolutely fantastic. Bit of kit here. It is a bit dazzling and maybe need to turn it down a little bit. Just a sec. Oh no, that's the warmth. There we go. It's just not quite as dazzling in my face there. Right, yeah, I'm gonna deliver this in the classic shit sandwich approach, which is a few positives at the start, some criticisms in the middle, and then finish on some positives, which I think is always important. So the first big positive for me, which is something that I think caught me out and took me by surprise a bit, and also I was probably a bit dismissive of in the past before coming to YouTube, is that by doing these videos it does allow the photographer to add an extra dimension to what you're doing. So for instance, that shoot I did up on Great Mell Fell in the winter with all the snow and stuff, that's a really good example of that for me, in that I was able to get the emotion and the feeling into what I was doing across better in a video than I perhaps ever could in just a still image and a couple of lines of text. So yeah, for me, that's really added a lot of value to what I'm doing, and it's something that I'd probably poo-pooed in the past a little bit when I wasn't doing videos, but it's important, and I can see why people have always said that now, so I've had to obviously change my thinking a little bit, but you know, we can all adapt, and I like to think I'm quite adaptable anyway. So that's been really enjoyable, that aspect of it. The second one, which is I guess more of a practical thing than anything else, is that by doing these videos, it's widened my reach to a broader audience, and that's obviously good for my business. That might sound a bit hard-nosed, but I've got to be practical about this. At the end of the day, I'm a professional photographer, and anything I'm doing like this really has to have a goal of bringing awareness to my business and brand. So in that sense, it's been really good, because it's resulted in more workshop bookings and more print sales and that sort of stuff. So yeah, big tick for that. The next one is something that it's not specifically limited to YouTube, but this has happened, is that it's been great to get to meet people who, you know, watch the videos. And obviously with having this gallery here in Keswick in the middle of the Lake District, you get a lot of photographers passing through and sticking their head through the door and having the crack with us, and it's been really nice to have people come in since I started doing these videos, and a few words of encouragement and say how much they enjoy them and that sort of stuff. Fortunately, I haven't had anyone stick their head in and say they hate them, but yeah, no, it's been really nice. And if you're one of those people watching that's visited the gallery since I've started doing this channel and have been really positive, then big thank you. I really appreciate it. And the last one of these pluses for now is that even though I wouldn't class myself as someone who's constantly out there producing new stuff, because I don't really feel like that benefits my approach, there's definitely been times where I've ummed and ahed about going out with the camera, and making these videos has made me accountable to that. It's definitely sometimes pushed me out the door and give me that extra sort of nudge to get out and take some pictures, when if I wasn't making videos I might have just sat on the couch, or I might have done something else, or watched a football game or something like that. So yeah, definitely more accountability to my photography, I think, and it's that little extra bit of motivation sometimes that you need. Right, serious face, I must get on to a couple of cons here. Now, as I said, the benefits of doing these videos far outweigh the negatives, but there are a couple of negatives that I think are important to talk about, because they are quite significant, or they are to me anyway. The first con, and this is by far and away the biggest one, probably not just limited to me, I know a lot of other creators have this same battle, especially in landscape photography, is that making these videos for me is a real drain on my actual stills photography. There's been so many times when I've been out shooting and I feel like I've missed a truckload of shots because I'm obviously having to juggle all these different balls trying to produce a video. And I guess what it's really driven home to me is that more than anything else, I'm a photographer first, absolutely 100%. Now, I don't mean that to sound in a pretentious way or anything like that. Everyone has different approaches to how you make videos, and for me personally, all I'm ever going to try and do with these videos is document my photography. My first instinct, and I think I've said this before, will always be that if the conditions are great and it's kicking off, I'll bin the video, and I need to get the image more than anything, because that's just my instinct. But also from a practical sense, in that because I'm running this gallery here, and my bread and butter is selling prints, it's not really in my interest to try and spend so much of the shoot trying to produce a Hollywood production and then find that I've actually missed the important bit, which is getting a really good shot, because YouTube for me isn't in any way, shape or form a revenue driver, or it certainly isn't yet anyway. It may never will be. So all my energy has to go on producing the best photography I can. So I guess going forward the videos will remain the same really. I can't ever see me being one of these guys that sits in a van for 15 minutes eating toasties. I'm just not going to do that. I don't find that inspiring personally. So yeah, bit of a compromise on the photography front, but that's the way it is, and I knew what I was getting into when I started doing these videos anyway. The next negative, which is a bit of a two-parter, but I'll try and condense it down as much as I can. The first part of this is that this is part of a growing trend on other social media platforms. It's not just YouTube. But I feel like this constant drive towards, consistency, output, volume, just almost clickbait, shock value tactics to try and get people to watch stuff or get attention on your work and stuff like that. I don't think it's very good, and you can see it on YouTube. It's I guess it's kind of always been that way a little bit, but I feel like in the last 2 or 3 years it's got significantly worse, to the point where I think a lot of creators are starting to feel this now, where there's this constant pressure to just churn stuff out all the time, and it's almost anti-creative, because it doesn't reward genuine creativity and genuine quality and integrity. It's just rewarding people who are willing to just constantly put stuff out, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Now, as I say, for me, YouTube isn't a huge driver for my business, so I don't really have that pressure. But I can imagine for people who do rely on YouTube a little bit, it must be a bit of a nightmare having to constantly try and adapt to these algorithms that are constantly changing all the time, because you don't know how it's going to be from one week to the next. Good example for me is that last video that I put out. I personally felt like it was one of my best videos I've done in terms of how it was put together and then the image I got at the end. But for whatever reason, whether it's the time of day I put it online or the title or the thumbnail, it's one of the worst performing videos. So if you haven't watched it, do go and watch it. But yeah, I'm not so keen on that side of YouTube, and I don't think it's good. I hope it changes, because if it's like this in the long term, I think it's going to start actually putting a lot of people off even coming onto this platform. So yeah, but leading on from that, this is more of a wider concern. Well, concerns maybe a bit strong. I'm not concerned because ultimately I don't think it matters to me, but I guess from a professional standpoint, as someone who's ran workshops for years, long before I ever did YouTube, I'm starting to see the effect of some of those things that I've just talked about, in that I've got beginner level photographers coming on workshops, and the first thing people want to talk about is YouTube, which is nice in a way, because obviously they're passionate about it, but it's a little concerning sometimes, because YouTube has become this dominant platform for social media, and that my worry is that landscape photography is just being pitched on the level of YouTube. Do you know what I mean? And that's not to, I don't want to get too far into this, but that's not to knock people on here, but there's a whole world of landscape photography outside YouTube, which I think a lot of people coming into photography now aren't getting to experience, because the go-to platform to, find out how to put a bloody chair leg up, or, drill a wall or anything is YouTube, because it's a fantastic resource in that sense. But I guess my feeling is that sometimes when I look around some of the content that's being produced on here, along the lines of chasing an algorithm, it's almost dumbing down landscape photography a little bit. There's only so many 5 ways to do this, 10 ways to do that videos, which have their place and they're good to a point. You can't condense landscape photography down into that. It's just far too complex. There's too many things to consider, and those things have their place, but they're not the be-all and end-all. So I guess my advice would be that if you're a beginner coming into landscape photography and you happen to be watching this video, by all means, use YouTube as a resource, because it is fantastic. But also, just broaden your horizons a little bit. There's a world of landscape photography out there. Photographers' websites, exhibitions, books, all that sort of stuff. There's so much more to this experience than just a 15-minute YouTube video. I mean, it should be remembered that while landscape photography on YouTube has taken off in the last sort of 4 or 5 years in popularity, and it does seem like there's a lot of landscape photographers on here, it's a tiny, tiny proportion of the overall amount of photographers practicing landscape photography. It's a very thin slice of the wedge. So I guess what I would say is it's almost, people are placing the bar here when there's a whole world of photography out there, and it's actually up here. So yeah, bit of a tricky one. I think that's just more of a broader concern with the platform, but yeah, it's it is what it is. Now, I said I'd finish on a couple of positives, and these are 2 really big positives for me. The first one is a personal thing, in that I've really enjoyed learning a new skill in videography. Now, obviously, I'm still very rough at doing a lot of this. I'm only 2 years in. But I feel like there's been some progression in the videos, hopefully, from when I started. It's been really interesting though, learning things like Premiere and I don't do much in After Effects, but things like After Effects as well. Just out of interest more than anything else, you know, just like, you know, picking up an encyclopedia or something like that. I just find it fascinating learning how the programs work and all that sort of stuff. And a lot of the things that I used to see in, you know, TV clips and YouTube and stuff like that, I would think, oh, how have they done that? Well, I kind of have a reasonable grasp on how it's done now. So yeah, that's been really interesting. And the last one, which is more of probably a nostalgic thing, is that I like the idea that producing these videos means that in 20 or 30 years time, when I can't take, well, hopefully I can in 20 years time, but when I'm older and I can't take photos anymore, I've got all these records that I can share with family and friends to say, you know, like that last video I did where, you know, hiked up to the top of a mountain for a sunset and got a really lovely picture out of it. It'd be nice to be able to look back on those experiences and have a really, I don't know what the word is, really sort of fulfilling experience around it captured on video. So yeah, that'll be really nice, and probably something that I'll see the value in a lot more in years to come. Because I guess that sort of thing really is the modern equivalent of, you know, what we used to do, or certainly people of my age and older used to do as kids, where I thought it was absolutely brilliant coming home from a holiday, and then, you know, we'd wait for the film to get developed, and then we'd get you know, one of those horrible old projectors and project the slides onto the wall, and that was just the absolute best thing. So yeah, so these YouTube videos, I guess, will be like that. Well, obviously they're like that now, but I'll be able to use them like that when I'm too old to do any pictures. So yeah, that wraps up my experiences so far in the last couple of years on YouTube. It's been interesting. As far as the channel goes, I don't really see me changing much of what I'm doing at the minute. I'll always really be a photographer first, and really these videos are just there to document my photography. But never say never. I don't know what path these videos will take, and you never know, things might change. And the way this algorithm works on here, you never know what they're wanting creators to do. So, you know, I'm always open to change anyway. Right, I'm going to finish this one up. Hopefully this weather starts to abate and I'll be able to get back out onto the fells in the next couple of days and do a bit more mountain photography, because as fun as these type of videos are, I'd much rather be out in the field taking pictures. So I'll catch you on the next one. Keep liking and subscribing and all that. And also, if you're a creator on here and you know you want to share any of your experiences, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section as well, because it helps the algorithm. So right, anyway, I'm out. I'll see you later.